Welcome to Beyond the Page, the official podcast of Choice, the magazine of professional coaching, where we bring you amazing insights and in-depth features you just won't find anywhere else. I'm your host, Gary Schleifer, and I'm excited to expand your learning as we dive into the latest article, have a chat with this brilliant author behind it, and uncover the learnings that are transforming the coaching world. When you get a chance, join our vibrant community of coaching professionals as we explore groundbreaking ideas, share expert tips and techniques, and make a real difference in our clients' lives. This is your go-to resource for all things coaching, but in the meantime, let's dive in. In today's episode, I'm speaking with ICF professional certified coach Maria Connolly. Again, welcome back. Who's the author of an article in our latest issue, The Power of Choice, one of my favorite sayings. Her article is entitled Where Choice Really Lives, Designing Empowering Conversations Through Somatic Awareness. A little bit about Maria. As I said, she's a professional certified coach, just like me, a licensed professional counselor specializing in somatic and embodied approaches to coaching and transformation. With more than 20 years of experience, Maria helps clients and coaches discover how wisdom lives in the body, guiding decisions through felt sense and bodily awareness rather than analytical processes alone. Trained in neurolinguistic programming and Ericksonian hypnotherapy, she integrates body center practices with traditional coaching methodologies. Through her coaching work, Maria teaches her clients to embody their practice and trust their clients' wholeness and inner authority. Maria, thank you so much for joining us again. So glad
Thank
you
you for
wrote for
having
us.
me again.
Oh, you're welcome. So why did you decide to write for us again?
Well, I love your magazine, and
Thank you.
usually when there are topics that are really intriguing for me, I'm game.
Oh, what made choice intriguing?
Because choice is intriguing, right? As I wrote in my article, the choices live in the body, not in the mind. And we often go to the mind to make choices. We do cost benefit analysis. We think about it, we ruminate, we go here and there, and we override really where the choice is, which is in the body. We already know what we want.
Yeah. And somatic means body, or how would you
Soma
define
means of the body, right? Like
of the body?
anything that has to do with the body.
Wow. Well, can you give us an example of how, like a recent coaching example where somebody was up here in the head and you brought them to their body?
Yes. So many.
Yeah,
But just
just
the
one of your
recent
favorites.
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
recent one actually, just a couple of weeks ago, where one of my clients was trying to decide whether to take the job that was offered to her. It was like almost a fit, but not quite a fit, right? And whether to take it or to wait a little bit longer, right? And of course, the taking the job had a lot of story. I should, because it's better to get this now than something later that we don't know what it is, and all of that. And the reality is that it wasn't quite the right fit. And so
Mhm.
when we dove into the body and why it wasn't quite a right fit, there were a lot of story that was really resonance with that. And so it was a harder choice because it's like, living these days, jobs are not easy to find. And
Mhm.
so it was really hard to
Yeah.
decide, like, I'm just going to trust it. I'm just going to say no to this, and I'm going to wait for something bigger. And then something bigger happened.
Mm. Now, what do you actually say in the coaching conversation though to stop from them making it in their head and like how do you switch gears, if you will, from head to body and feeling?
These days, after 20 years of experience and really good teachers and good training, I'm sort of like a body detector. And so I can. I always say I speak Italian, I speak English, and I also speak the language of the body. And so I can
Ah,
see what happens in the body as they are going, like, this is why I should choose this. It's because it's just better for me and it's better to do right. And so I see what happens in the body, the facial expression, the shoulders, the chest, and all of that. And so I just say, I hear all that you're saying, and what else is happening? What do you notice? And so
mm,
then they start to go, well, I do feel a little tight in my chest, and my belly is doing the thing. And so then I just, gently ask, do you mind if we check in there? What is that
mm.
saying about this choice that you're trying to convince yourself to, make? And then a world opens, and yeah.
Wow. That thank you very much for the example, and thank you for bearing with me to go a little deeper in that one. And
Mhm.
when you were saying that about the chest and the shoulders, I started to feel like, oh, I should relax there. I should. So I was kind of following you and your client. I thought that was quite interesting, but and what's also interesting is that you chose an example that I seem to see quite regularly in making those kind of usually career decisions.
Mhm.
So thank you for that reminder. And I'm not just going to go play without some practice. So I'll seek out some help and see if I can't figure out a way to add that somatic awareness. Now, how do you know that the body isn't just reacting from fear, let's say, or old conditioning, that reaction isn't
Mhm.
something else?
Right. When well, in the example that I just offered, the choosing the job that is offered might be a trauma response.
Mm.
It might be, I don't think I deserve anything bigger than that,
Mm.
or I don't trust that I'm gonna get, something, right? So that it might be a trauma response. I think in my experience, how we know that it's other than that, right? Like the choice of like waiting, it's that usually like the shoulders relax and the chest is not as tight, and like we have a different kind of resonance in our body when the choice aligns with our values, with what is important to us, with what we really want.
Mm. I love it. I love it. I'm going to quote you because this just reminded me of something when I was rereading your article. It begins in the subtle tightening before a no, the warm expansion that signals a yes, the micro shift that happens when something is aligned, like you're saying, values, or not aligned. The mind arrives later with a story to justify what the body already knew. So it's almost like what you're saying, the natural course is it actually comes from the body before the brain. And when we're coaching with clients, we take it from the brain to the body. Does that sound right?
Right. It's that fast. Right? When somebody asks you a questions, when you're dealing with something, the body speaks first. It's already there. We know what that is. We're asked a question, we pull back, we lean in, we have a subtle jolt of joy in our chest. It's faster. And then the mind comes in and interprets or tries to persuade us otherwise, right? Because it's less scary to get that job now than waiting for something bigger. It's like, "Whoa, the unknown? Who
Right.
likes the unknown?"
How true, how true. Are there any other high stakes professional decision examples that you can make? Career is one. How else might it show up at that big
Mhm.
exec level?
I work a lot with leaders, and leaders have to make really a lot of decisions all the time,
Mm,
right? And so sometimes these days I'm dealing a lot with culture in the workplace, right? And so often the choice is, do I continue to work with this person, or do I say, you're not a good fit for our organization, right? And so we're dealing with conflict and maybe like not being liked and making a decision that you know it's right. And also, it's not the popular decision, right? Because this person has a group of friends and all of that. And so, those decisions, I always say it's really important that you make the decision that it's aligned with the value and the culture that you're wanting to create versus making a decision that allows you to just, sleep at night and not have conflict and all of that, right? It's like the long range consequences versus the immediate gratification.
Yeah. Wow. Well said. That's a pause. A friend of mine says a pause gives more than it takes. So sometimes
Oh,
it might be worth just taking a pause and checking in with your body, not just your mind and your surroundings. Um,
right.
how can someone like me or my clients start building somatic literacy on their own?
Mhm. Great question. So, the usual suspect, I think it's mindfulness or meditation. And,
Okay.
I don't think people need to engage in hours of meditation a day, like 10 minutes of mindfulness, meaning paying attention in a particular way without judgment, right? And the key is without judgment, right? So noticing for just a few minutes, what is my body doing right now? What's my breath doing? Without changing it. What are my feet doing? What's my belly doing? Sometimes I'll still catch myself. I'll be, driving. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. I'll be driving and I'm like, doing this. And I'm like, that's interesting. Okay, let me just do this. It's like maybe I'm going to drive better. But I might be also a cue of like, well, what's happening? Maybe I'm thinking about something. Maybe I'm driving through a stretch that is particularly makes me tense or something like that.
Hmm.
So coming back to your question, a few minutes a day of paying attention without judging to what's happening to our breath, our body, our thoughts. Consistency, really.
Consistency. You know, when you say that, I'm thinking of what's happening right now, and I tend to stop breathing. Not stop breathing, but notice that I close my mouth and I don't take deeper breaths. And
Right,
that's one of the things that I notice. So continue to notice things like that and what brings that on and at what point in time and things like
right,
that. So,
right.
oh, that's
We
great.
all do that,
Yeah.
right? These are unconscious. Mhm.
Yeah. And first, I'm taking this very personal now. Not personally, but coming from me as a person, I've spent years overriding my body and not paying attention. How can I relearn how to listen to it, to hear it?
Yeah, I think first it's a commitment, right? I have a thing that I do with clients, right? I'll say, so first honor the fact that not paying attention served something, right? It's like the old positive intention of NLP. The positive intention is to just go with the culture and be faster and make decision quickly and all of that.
Mhm.
And once you honor the fact that this has served a purpose, make a commitment to do something different because you're wanting a different goal. Like
Yeah.
maybe you wanting to pay attention to yourself, have a different relationship with yourself, with your body, and make decisions from that deeper place.
Mm, that's a great idea. So I
Yeah.
shall. And I've started something recently, and the listeners can't see this, but I have a little sniffer I got way back. And just to pause, and it's a lavender scent. And I keep it handy now. It used to be in a drawer. I keep it handy, and it's just a little reminder to go, oh, almost like stop and smell the roses, but in this case, it's the lilacs. But, little
I
things.
love it, Gary. I have mine right here. I can see it. Yeah.
We're on the same page, on the same page. Where did you get your training for this somatic work? What schools and places would you suggest people go to find out more?
As you mentioned, I'm trained first as a clinical therapist, and so I studied a COMI 20 years ago, sensory motor psychotherapy with Pat Ogden, and all of that. So it started me in this journey. And then later on, I discovered Ericksonian hypnotherapy, and so that also helped me sort of deepen this way of paying attention to, the deeper wavelengths that we have. And then just about maybe less than 10 years ago, I discovered the Straussy Institute. And so I have
Oh
to give
yes, yeah, Richard Strauss.
credit to them also. Stacy Haynes, a great teacher. And so I've been studying with them a little bit and deepened this way of being a coach with my clients.
Oh, good reminder. I'd forgotten that they were in that arena,
Yes.
somatic coaching. That's great. Your article was absolutely fabulous. Lots of great
Thank
tips,
you.
lots of pointers to the reader in each of the areas that you are pointing us to. So thank you so much for that. What would you like our audience to do as a result of the article in this conversation?
I hope they do what you did here today, like just stopping for a moment throughout the day, right? Like that, taking a deep breath, focusing on the exhale, and just remembering that there's so much more happening for us than what the mind is broadcasting.
Mhm. I keep laughing because I keep putting myself in exactly in that driver's seat because
All of us.
I work from the head down and I forget to move around in the body. Although I have to say, Maria, as a result of reading your article, it's been in my mind to continually think about ways to get clients literally out of their chair. The other day, I asked a client to picture having their team get up, move around, dismiss all of the operational thoughts and come back to their chairs virtually to think about strategic thinking.
Yes.
And the client was like, "Wow, what a great idea!" And I always hesitate, and then I realize how great it is. So I have to keep reminding myself. It may sound a little odd and it may be different, but we're all doing things the same way a lot of the time, and sometimes that different thing, although it sounds weird, can really transform a conversation, a group, an experience, right?
You are so, so right. There's a quote that I love. I think it's Nietzsche that says, don't trust anything that you're thinking sitting down.
Say that again.
Don't trust anything that you're thinking sitting down.
Wow. Okay.
I have a lift here, and so often I will lift my desk and push my chair aside, and I'll get up even with clients, and sometimes they do the same, right?
Mhm.
Because I find that it's so helpful when we walk our thoughts, meaning like, okay, so you just said that. Let's stand up. Let's see what happens when you say it, when you're moving, when you're stretching, when you're not, so scrunched up.
Yeah.
And something different happens, right?
Yeah.
You can't feel like the king of the world when you're like this,
Yeah.
right? That pose is this, right?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. You just reminded me another client that there's a in up here in Canada, there seems to be a major mandate by corporations to bring everybody back to the office. The only problem is there's not enough office space.
Hmm.
So one of my clients took her direct report and they were having a one-on-one. I don't know what about. And they said, "Come on, let's just go outside and go for a walk." And they went out to a local
Yes,
park, sat in the park. Oh my goodness, the difference that made, she said, reported back was amazing. You weren't so official sitting in an office and so formal. And she says, I
absolutely.
can't wait to do that again.
Yes. We need
Yeah,
to move more. Not
yeah,
just exercising, but moving our thoughts, so
yeah.
like I have to make a choice. Let me go for a walk. Yeah.
Yeah, great ideas. Great ideas, Maria. Thank you. Thank you again for writing for us and for being here for this podcast.
Thank
What's
you.
the best way for people to reach you if they want to talk to you more about this?
Through my Instagram, I have Facebook. I think you have all the links. I
Yeah.
never remember what my links are.
And LinkedIn,
Facebook
I'm
and Instagram
sure.
and LinkedIn. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a
Mhm.
very popular one. Maria Connolly. Again, thank you so much for writing and again and for being on a podcast again. So thank you.
Thank
And
you.
that's great. That's it for this episode of Beyond the Page. For more episodes, subscribe via your favorite podcast app, most likely the one that got you here. If you're not a subscriber to Choice Magazine and you're watching this video, you can sign up for your free digital issue by scanning the QR code in the top right hand corner of my screen where it says scan me. If you're listening and you're now in a safe spot, not driving or on the treadmill, you can go to choice-online.com and click the sign up now button. I'm Gary Schleifer. Enjoy the journey of mastery.